I had lost my house to foreclosure. I had lost the car to repo. They locked up my bank accounts. I had the sheriffs at my house every other day serving me with lawsuits. I had people across the street hiding in the bushes with video cameras taping me. Like, it was bad. It
Wow.
was overwhelming. It was the darkest time of my life. I contemplated an attempted suicide. I went down to Florida for that reason. I got to a point. I'm not a weak man. I got to a point mentally in my life where I'm like, I don't see a way out of this.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of American Snippets. I'm your co-host, Barb Allen. I'm here today with Billy Alvaro, who is a die-hard entrepreneur with over $1.3 billion of business transactions in his resume. Yes, that is billions with a B. He's also served in law enforcement in the Air Force, and he's built, lost, and rebuilt companies that have generated multi-millions of dollars of revenue as well, two of which are Max Return Real Estate Investment and Flipmasters, which he is still leading forward hard and fast and steady today. I believe he's also about to branch out into all sorts of new worlds too. So while his professional success is impressive, you all know me, you know that I'm about personal success and growth as well. And Billy's story of both of those has huge lessons for anybody who's ready to just take themselves through the challenges they have. And we are going to hit all those lessons today on the personal path and on the professional path. I promise you're going to love Billy, what he has to say. You can get past his New York accent, which I actually love.
She's giving the date.
It's all good to go. Billy, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
I appreciate you guys having me, Bob. Thanks. Good to see you again. It's been a bit. I haven't seen you in a while.
It has been a bit. It has been a bit since the very first time I got to meet you in person. And then, this is what happens in life, right? Everybody's paths cross and converge, and just think you're going to get back together, and COVID comes along, boom.
Yeah.
Off you go. But
social distancing to the max.
Social distance. I can't even stand those two words. They actually just
hate them.
Puke a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'll refrain while I'm here, but just know in my mind, you just made me puke. Okay. So Billy, your story, like I said, you have been all over a mix max, and what we do here at American Snippets, our platform, our topic, we're all about the American dream. We believe it is alive and well. And now, honestly, while a lot of people think we're crazy, we know that it's important to double down on that. And we love to surround ourselves with people who are doing so too, because just because things are hard now, just because this country is sort of a mess, doesn't mean that you can take your your foot off that pedal and let go, right? It's time to really just push down. And that's exactly what you've managed to do really throughout your entire path that you've taken. When shit goes sideways on you and it falls apart, you take a minute, you step back, you regroup, you assess the scene, and then you just attack again. So I love the lessons that brings for us as well. Let's just go into, we'll talk people a little bit through where you started. You started in real estate investment at like 19 years old.
Yeah, I bought my first house, and my mom and dad they said, we're not going to pay for college because you were not good in school at all, but we'll give you a little bit of money to invest. And it was a few $1,000s. And I said, you know what? I figured out how to get in with an FHA loan with hardly anything down, and bought my first property, and it was a complete disaster. But I had that house for I had for 16 years.
Right. So you're 19,
made me money.
You're 19 years old and you figured out how to get in with an FHA loan. I'm going to just say this. This was before the era of the internet, right?
Oh yeah. There was nothing out there. It was the classified ads. Remember the classifieds?
The phone book.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you, now it would be a challenge to do that it can be almost like something that would stop people from doing it, overwhelming, even with the online part. But how are you at 19 years old figure out how to get through the FHA? I mean, that's.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this, I've been an entrepreneur junkie since I was probably 7 years old. At 7 years old in my neighborhood, they used to do the firecrackers, the fireworks on 4th of July. Yeah. And at 7, I would go around and take the firecrackers that didn't explode and I gathered them up and I'd sell them for a nickel a piece to the kids in the neighborhood.
God, I love that.
2 years later, I said to my father, I want 9. I want to buy firecrackers. I want to buy mats. So we bought mats of firecrackers for $4. And mat, I think, had 40 packs in it. I broke up the packs, sold them for 50 cents a piece. $4 investment turned into $20. So I started selling mats of firecrackers. I've sold lollipops, weed when I was a kid. Like, I sold everything. And the key thing is I realized that I could buy for one price and somebody's willing to, if I buy it in bulk or buy it at a discount, somebody's willing to spend more, buy for more on the other side, and I can make the spread. And so I don't know, I just had this, even as a kid, I just had this unique ability, this innate ability to charm people, to connect with people, to sell, and to solve problems. And I just, as I grew and got older, this just started really coming out. And the bigger problems we solve, I was on with Dave earlier, the biggest problems we solve, the bigger money we make. And, when I got into this business, I was watching late night TV. I was like 14 years old, and it was Dave Delgado. I don't know if you guys remember him, the dark skinned guy with the mustache. And he was all no money down and, pull out $16,000 at the closing table. And at 16, all my friends are hanging out. I'm hanging out, but I'm like, how is this guy doing it? And so I'd buy books at 16 years old, and I was reading, and I was understanding, but not really, because they would always leave out really the meat. They would just give you like the basics, but they wouldn't really tell you the how, just the what. And it took me a little bit of time, but I started just researching and digging, a lot of time at the library and figuring things out. And I said, you know what, I could get into a property. I had no idea about hard money or private money or anything like that. But I said, there's got to be programs. And I found out there was a program called VA and FHA. I wasn't a veteran yet. So I got the FHA loan, and I said, let's figure this out. And my mother gave me a few $1,000s. I found the property, piece of crap, went in there, and I had no clue what I was doing. I started renovating it and hiring the wrong people and lost money, made money. But the thing is, I took a chance. I saw what I wanted to do, and I didn't allow the fear of not knowing to hold me back. Yeah. I failed probably more than anybody you're ever going to meet. I'm a complete failure. That's why I'm a success, because I fail so freaking much that I learn what not to do real quick.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you've heard it as often as I have, or just seen it, people just kind of shaking their heads and laughing when something, you go all in on this, it doesn't go the way you think it is, but you take those lessons and you put them over here, and you've moved on, but other people are like, oh, well, see, this happened, that happened. Yeah. That's why I'm going to stick with mine. That's why I'm going to do that,
right.
And it kind of justifies. I'm like, yeah, but look what I'm doing over here. Like,
yeah. They don't see that though.
Yeah. But it's hard, especially if you're somebody who doesn't maybe have that innate confidence in themselves, or is just taught, is raised in fear, right? Raised in scarcity. It's very hard to kind of change that mindset to, from scarcity to a challenge kind of thing, right? So I love that you pretty much born. You have brothers, sisters?
I have a younger brother, 3 years. And listen, my family, they would give me mixed messages growing up. So part of my mom and dad would tell me, you can do whatever you want to do in life. But then the flip side, they said, but get a job, make sure you have retirement, make sure you have benefits.
Yeah.
So you can do anything you want to do on the side. I go, why would I want to live my life on the side? Like, I want to live my life the way I want to live my life. I don't want to work for $35,000 a year just because I have quote unquote benefits. Yeah. Like, that's not living to me. Yeah. And my mom and dad, because they were brought up a certain way and they were conditioned, they were not knowing they were trying to do this to me, but they were trying to get into my head to say, this is the way it is. Life is a struggle. We don't have a lot of money. Well,
you're not supposed to enjoy work.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I haven't worked a day in my life in the last 30 years. Yeah. Like, I love what I do. This is not work. Like, we're working right now. This is not work.
You're not supposed to enjoy it. But I mean, that's what I remember here. Like, work isn't supposed to be fun. Right. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Well,
right. Okay. I'm going to go out, work my ass off and hate my job and come home and be miserable and watch TV. Like, I don't want that life at all. It's not for me.
Yeah. I've been there. And certainly the entrepreneurial path is packed with struggles. And sometimes you can look at it and see everybody with their consistent world and like, oh, maybe they're onto something when you're having a bad day. Right. But then you just get back up and you go, all right. So 19 years old, you get that first building. How does that turn into you starting a mortgage brokerage that makes like $1 billion plus? How does that happen?
So I think the universe gives you everything you want, and you just have to be wise enough to see when it's coming your way, and you need to act on the opportunity. So I didn't know when I moved down to Florida when I was, I think, 21 years old. at 22 years old. And I went down there because I wanted to be a multimillionaire. And I wanted to get into real estate. I had no idea how I was going to do it. Still, I bought my first house and 3 or 4 years went by. I didn't buy another one because I didn't know how to do it. And so I went down to Florida and I was bartending.
Had you sold the house then at that point?
No, I kept it. I kept it as a rental. Yeah, I kept it as a rental. I
So
had
you're
that
living
property
off
for
of the
16.
rental? Okay.
It had a couple $100 a month. It wasn't making a lot, because I had a mortgage on it. It wasn't making a ton of money. Went down to Florida and I went through BSO, Broward County Sheriff's Department, to become a police officer. I was a police officer up here in Southampton Village. I went down to Florida, went through this whole thing. Something inside me was telling me it's just not right. I woke up in the middle of the night sweating. I'm like, you know what? This is not my calling. Like, something else is out there. So I didn't take the job. Ended up bartending. Now my whole family thinks I'm a complete loser because I'm bartending at the beach in Florida. I had the greatest time of my life, but that job, taking that position, getting hired by this guy Paul and meeting this guy Kelly at the bar completely changed my life. Kelly met an older guy who was looking for a protege to train in the mortgage business.
Come on.
Kelly said,
was he like a client at the bar, a customer at the bar who just...
Kelly was a Coke dealer bookie who came to the bar every night from 7 to 9.
And he's looking for a Coke dealer protege?
No. So he met somebody.
Okay.
He's like, kid, you can definitely turn the Coke.
Story is getting crazy. Okay.
So Kelly, who was a bookie and a Coke dealer, used to come to the bar. He was a good dude, didn't do his own drug, but he went through his own problems and he was a sales guy, but this is the life he ended. He was 60 years old. I'm like, I never want to end up like this guy. But he saw something in me and he's like, what are you doing behind the bar? You're going to end up like Rick. Rick was a bartender for like 35 years. Complete alcoholic, drunk, stumbling, never did anything with his life. So Kelly was busting my balls for a good solid month. I met this guy, Rob. He wants to hire somebody to train, just talk to the guy. So what happened? The old fear, the old unknown came creeping in my head. I don't have college. I'm not college material. I know nothing about finance. So all this self-doubt started creeping in. But because Kelly was who he was, he stayed on me like a father. And I'm so grateful for this guy. Like, he just stayed on me. And finally, after 30 days, he's like, dude, did you call Rob yet? I go, I'll do it tomorrow. He goes, fucking tomorrow is never going to come. Pick up the phone right now. His big ass, cellular phone that he had in the bar. Pick up the phone and call him and book the appointment. So I did it. And I called Rob and he's like, tomorrow morning, I'm having a meeting at my house, 8:00 in the morning. I work at the bar till 6 in the morning. So I'm going to have no sleep. Fast forward, I met Rob. I went to his house. He was doing this whole training thing. And I was intrigued. I said, I can't, there was like maybe 8 to 12, maybe 14 people there. And I'm looking around and nobody had experience and they were all suited up and just professional looking. And here I was, Billy the bartender, complete disheveled wreck. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell am I even doing? It's, again, self-doubt, questioning myself. And afterwards, the guy Rob was talking. I pulled him aside. I go, Rob, I want you to be honest. How much do you make a year? And he was a nice guy, but he wasn't a shining, he didn't have that personality. And he said, between you and me, I made 150 this past year. Now, this was back in 92. And I looked at him, I said, you made 150 grand doing this? And he goes, yeah. I go, I don't need any college. He goes, I will train you everything you need to do. I made my decision right then and there. I go, I will give you 1 year of my life. You tell me and train me everything you know. I'll dedicate myself. I'll make you at least 100 grand this year on my own. But then after that, I'm out. I'm going to go do my own thing. He goes, you got a deal. And I worked every freaking day with that guy, before the bar, after the bar. Like, I still had my bartending job. I trained. And I got to tell you, man, I realized quickly how you can make money legally in that business and how you can help people. Like, it wasn't dealing drugs. It was like literally helping people. And that was my thing, solving problems and helping people. Yeah. And I remember when I got out and I started working for a company, I got my first check and, it was $20,000 and then it was $30,000 for the month. And then $50,000. I was 24 years old, making ridiculous cash, saying, how in the hell? And I honestly questioned it. I'm like, is it legal? Because I'm making so much money at such a young age. And that was the moment where I said, I'm going to open up my own business. I'm going to open up my own bank one day. And I had this whole vision. Like, I saw global before global existed. Like, you see things. Like, I saw the whole thing, the way it was built. The only thing that didn't work out is I thought I was going to sell out the Countrywide. They ended up not selling out the Countrywide. I was going to take it public and the whole bottom fell out of the market and I lost everything. But it was the absolute best experience of my life because the opportunity presented itself and because Kelly, thank God for him, pressed me. he didn't press me, I don't know if I'd still be a bartender, but who the hell knows what I'd be doing?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Just the opportunity came and I acted on it because I got pushed.
That's awesome. You owe that push to a Coke dealer. That's great. That's a great, that's a great story.
It's the truth.
No,
Coke dealer bookie.
I know, but that's amazing. And it also actually serves as another lesson, right? Like not to discount the value that anybody has in all sorts of areas just because you disagree with
It's because of with what they do. Right.
Yeah, like everybody has value in some path. One thing somebody says to you can literally
change the trajectory of your life.
Yes, change everything.
And it did.
Which is really cool. I've had some people like that in my life, and I will love them to the day I die, right? So you went to, now you're working for the mortgage company, and you branched out and you just created your own. How old were you when you did that? Was that before or after the Air Force?
That was after the Air Force. And so I did Air Force Reserves. I was in the Air Force Reserves for about probably 4 years. And then I ended up moving and I got out of the reserves. So that I did, I did the mortgage thing. I opened up my own company when I was 28, going on 29 years old is when I opened it up.
Awesome.
And yeah. And I had it, I just had a few years underneath my belt. I think I was in the industry for maybe 2.5 years. But before I opened up my own, a friend of my brother's that lived up here, he contacted me, and he always wanted to become wealthy. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I was in Florida doing mortgages, and I told him what I was doing. And then he, again, aggressive, he went out, found a job doing mortgages, convinced the guy up here in New York that he was working for to make me a partner in an office in Florida without putting up any money. You got to meet this guy, Billy. He's aggressive. He's this. So I fly up to New York and I meet John, I meet Dave, and I meet all these different guys, and they all put up money. And I was the branch manager down here in Florida when I was in Florida, and I had a 20% or a 25% stake in this. And I put up none of my own cash, and I ran it, and I was doing with a short amount of time, 100,000 a month, 150 a month, $200,000 a month. Like, it started rolling. And then Dave had big visions. He's like, "Look, I want to grow this company national. I want to take it from the 6 states we're in to 50 states. In order to do so, I want to have everything underneath one roof in New York." And he made me an offer. He's like, "Look, come to New York. You can still run Florida and you can run New Jersey, but I want you to do it from the New York office. I want to have everything underneath one umbrella." And I thought about it, and it was an opportunity, and something was telling me, take it. I just saw something big happening. And I took it, and I was there for about a year. And then I said, "You know what? It's time for us to open up our own place." And myself and my partner at the time, we invested some cash. I put in for the license. It took us a long time to get the license, about a year and a half. I finally got approved, and that was it. We were off and running. And we just.
How does that go when I stop and I take you down the path that people come to me and ask me a lot, and I know that are the questions that they have when they're trying to get past these roadblocks, right? So for a lot of people, one of those roadblocks there to keep them from doing what you just did is feeling like beholden to that your former employer, or worrying about leaving them, or not knowing how to do it without leaving in a bad like they would feel, how can I branch out from this person who took me up? Or how did you know it was the time? And what's the reality between people who understand business and know business and grow, as opposed to what people think is going to happen when you make that?
So I can tell you, yeah. So the whole thing in regards to, you always want to leave off on good terms. And it was shaky with Dave. He had a hard relationship with my partner, John. They had a weird type relationship. So there was a major falling out, not on my part, really on John's part, because there was a whole bunch of just lies and deception that went through that I didn't know about until 2 or 3 years later. I didn't know what kind of person my partner was until the real person eventually always reveals himself to everybody. And so I based my going into partnership with him on the fact that he was just as aggressive as I was. Like, I wanted to become a multimillionaire. He did too. My process of getting there was inspiring people, bringing people up, and I guess adding a lot of value. And his was not that way. It was more lies and punching and just different way of which doing business. And so, but anyway, in regards to leaving, I can tell you, man, I don't know if everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur and everybody's cut out to go out and start their own business. That's like the business we have now, Easy Sell Property Solutions and Max Returns. I like shout from the top of my lungs. If you want to do this business, you don't need to go out there and face all the struggles and try to go through this and make no money for the first 3 to 5 years to get it going. Like, I have entrepreneurs inside my business. These are people who have the entrepreneur spirit. They want to be able to grow. They don't want to be confined to a business where you have to work at 9, you leave at 5. It's really corporate. I give my staff, my team members, the freedom to grow within us. If they bring in value, they can open up a branch. They can get a piece of the action. They could whatever. But that's the entrepreneur versus the entrepreneur. Yeah. A true entrepreneur that's going to go out there, it's not easy. Like, you're doing it. This is probably one of the toughest things you could do. You have to be well put together mentally. You have to just deal with challenges that are going to be coming your way, because it is probably one of the most hardest things you're going to go through, because every day it's different and the weight of the world is on your shoulders as an entrepreneur. And when you have, as I had with the mortgage company, 950 families, the mouths to feed, that's a lot of responsibility on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah, that is a lot. How long?
So it's not for everybody.
How many years did it take to build the company from opening up the doors to getting to the point where you had 915 or 50, would you say?
50. It was 950. That in and of, that's a whole nother story there. There's many lessons in that. We grew the company way too fast.
Yeah.
So I killed the company because sales and marketing outpaced operations. And the mindset I have now is really systems driven. Everything now is, if there's a problem, I don't want to put a person on the problem. I want to put a system on the problem and create a process that's going to eliminate the problem and increase efficiencies. Back then when I had the mortgage company, because I didn't know what I didn't know, I threw bodies at problems, and sometimes not the most qualified body at the problem, because I didn't have the right processes to bring these people in. So we grew way too fast. We had, within 2 years, we probably had 175 to 200 people. Within 4.5 years, we had 800 people. Within 6 years, we had 950 people. We were in 42 states. It was crazy. It was nuts. I grew too fast. If I didn't grow that fast, I probably still would have had the company. I just grew way too fast. I didn't know what I didn't know. But I have no regrets, because everything I went through got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
So, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe it's horrible. I'm like, it was the best fucking thing that ever happened to me. Like, I got a Harvard education without going to Harvard.
Yeah, and you don't feel it at the time, right? Maybe you don't recognize it at the time when you're taking the hits, or maybe some part of you do or does. But
no, I didn't recognize it at all. I had no idea what I was.
Some part of your level. And sometimes when things go like terribly wrong here, I'll look at my kids or I'll look at Dave and I'm like, at some point, maybe it's a week, a month, a year, or 10 years. At some point, what's happening right now is going to be really fucking funny. But right now, that's so funny. Yeah. But I know we're going to laugh about this one day. Like, that's how I get myself through it. Or, that there's going to be hidden value in it somewhere. But so now you get to a point and you've done over $1 billion of business in there, and you realize you got to close the company. What happens in that process?
So now,
after that?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to take the company public, because I know that there's a problem in the economy. The margins are starting to shrink considerably. We went from 800 basis points that we were selling off to Wall Street to 600 to 400 to 200. So we basically we went margins from here to here, which when you have a company that size, it's going to start hemorrhaging. So we went from making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, million, to losing $400,000 a month, like overnight. And so we took the company, we're like, all right, we have to go out and raise more money. We did a $4 million capital raise at first. That got us a $75 million credit facility, which is a warehouse line of credit where we can start doing deals. Then I really went out to the market to raise 10 million, but the guys who I got the money from, these Wall Street guys, only gave me 4. You don't have to be the smartest man in the room to realize my plan calls for 10. You're giving me 4. Like, there's a fucking shortfall, dude. He'd say, well, you're going to have to go out and raise more money. So we did just that. It took us another year, and we had a group of companies that were all going to be packaged together. It was a reverse merger, and it was a $250 million market cap. And the first round investors that put the $4 million in, they did not like the deal, because they weren't coming out with $4 million in cash. They were coming out with either 1.8 or 2.2 in cash, and then they were getting a percentage of the new stock in the new company. And bottom line, smart guys, but they were so damn smart that they just killed it. They didn't realize how to make a deal happen, and they ended up suing me. And when they sued me, I had to go to the board, because now here we have this company that's about to go public, and the board's like, we can't have this whole calamity. Like, you got to make it go away or you're out. So I went back to them. They said they'll make it go away, but they still have the option to sue me in the future. And I go, it's never going to work. And the board said, if you don't get it to go away permanently, you're out. And they ended up killing the deal. And they said, you'll never let the deal die, meaning me, these investors. They said, you have too much riding on it. I go, dude, I'm at my last end here. I had $1 million of my own money I just put in. I had another $1 million I just put in. I'm like, I am no longer going to be floating this business. If this deal doesn't go through, I'm fucking pulling the plug. The guy, you won't do it. I go, watch me. And that was it. Overnight, I had to pull I had no choice. I had no more. I wasn't willing to take any more money out of my bank personally to keep this thing going because I saw the way it was happening. I saw the market, and I'm like, it's over. That's it. And then overnight, that was the hardest. Actually, it wasn't. The first 6 months of me closing was probably the best 6 months that 1 year of my life because I had the stress off my shoulders. But then once reality hit and the lawsuits started hitting and the sheriffs were at my house every other day, then, reality set in and I'm like, wow, this is fucked. And I met another guy. People come into your life for reasons. I met this guy, Sam, and Sam went through what I went through in 2006 and 7. He went through that about 15 years earlier. He had a huge company and his company went upside down. He ended up losing everything, going bankrupt. And he pulled me aside when this whole thing was happening. Great guy. And he's like, mark my words, this is what's about to happen. So prepare yourself. And he laid out the blueprint of what was going to happen in my life personally and what was going to happen with the lawsuits and who around me was going to start to fucking go the other way and how this thing was going to pan out. And thank God he gave me some insights of what to do. And so I strategized and I protected as much as I could, but he was right on, man. I had everybody that was on my coattails when I had the business gone.
Yeah.
Like, the Billy Gravy train was fucking over because the money was no longer coming in. I had some really good people that stuck by my side, but people show their true colors, and I never held it against anybody. I never said, fuck you, but it's a miracle. It's magical. All of a sudden you come back on top 3, 4, 5 years later and everybody's knocking at your door.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? And I was never rude, but I would never let them back into my circle.
Yeah.
Like, this is my fucking circle. My circle's tight. And I'm not allowing people in anymore that just want a free ride. Like, you got to bring value. You want to get involved with Billy Alvaro now, you have to bring value because I know what I bring to the table.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge lesson. For me, that was a game changer when I was, at the lowest of low. It's very hard for people to do. It's very hard sometimes to have the strength to kind of look around at the people around you and remove the emotion from it and just classify them. I triage people in my life now. I put them in different categories. I know, people who add value, people who are neutral, and people who take value, and you just put the time, right? But it's hard, but what a game changer, right? What a game changer when you do that, when you kind of cull the herd, you clear that arena there and you just bring on the team that helps you move more efficiently and more powerfully through life. What did that do then when you built that, when you started that new company up? You're coming back up on top. And now this is a different company you started.
Completely.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time, Barb. But I was really in a bad state for about 3 years. So
what was going on in those 3 years? Like, what defined bad state?
Bad state. I mean, I had lost my house to foreclosure. I had lost the car to repo. They locked up my bank accounts. I had the sheriffs at my house every other day serving me with lawsuits. I had people across the street hiding in the bushes with video cameras taping me. Like, it was bad. It was overwhelming. It was the darkest time of my life. I contemplated an attempted suicide. I went down to Florida for that reason. Like, I got to a point, I'm not a weak man. I got to a point mentally in my life where I'm like, I don't see a way out of this. Like, everywhere I turned, everywhere I looked, anything I did, I was getting hit. And I was in such a negative state up here that I was creating, and I'm a firm believer, because this was so negative, everything else around me was becoming quadruple negative, by 10 times negative. And I went down to Florida and I had this, I had a come to Jesus meeting, and it was hard. And when I came through and I made my mind up to fight, I came out fighting, and I just went completely apeshit because I had a reason. And the reason wasn't just to live. The reason wasn't because of my wife or because of my family. The reason why is because these fucking attorneys, this is what got me out of my state of killing myself. The attorneys that I was paying, I had 6 different law firms. They were charging me $48,000 a month. And as I was going through my process, only thing in my head that I started thinking was, they're fucking ripping me off. They're doing nothing. And it was all that stress of me putting out money and nothing happening. I realized it's that's causing me to feel like this. Like, if I could just take care of this shit myself and end it and figure it out, I'm going to be able to come out. And I came out of this, and the next morning I called the attorneys one by one, and I said, look, I'm going pro se on my cases. You're off the case. Any bill you have, you're going to eat it because I'm not paying you anything anymore. If you have $100,000, 200, I'm not paying $1. You're crazy. You're gonna go down. I go, look, I'm doing what I do. The internet was around. I went online. I did a search, and I Google search. I found a thing called Juris Dictionary, Information Marketing Product, how to represent yourself in court and win. And I ordered it, sent it to Florida. I read it. I go, fucking, I could do this. Hired a paralegal from New Jersey. I go, look, you write the legal briefs. I will go to court. I know the judges are going to give me leeway because I'm a regular dude. I'm not an attorney. And Barb, one by one, I started winning. The $4.8 million, those guys had fucking sued me, that caused the whole thing, that they said, we're not going to do the deal. We're going to force your hand. Well, they forced my hand. I went to court. I beat them. The next $1 million, I beat. 600,000, I beat. 800,000, I beat. And it wasn't like I beat it because I did something wrong. I beat it because I won, because they didn't have any fucking proof that I did anything.
Yeah.
So one by one, I started winning. And once I had that first win, and I felt everything shift. Like, I got to win, because I was losing for 3 years. And then all of a sudden that win happened, and like, everything started happening, and the forward motion just didn't stop. And then it was 2009, July 4th, I came back to New York, and it was Independence Day of all days. And I love it because it was the day that I realized my financial freedom. And it was that day that I made my mind up that I was going to get into real estate investing full time. And now you have to think, I still had all these lawsuits going on. They weren't all over. I still had lawsuits. I had $14+ million in debt that was either lawsuit driven or judgments against me or whatever it was. All this crap in this bucket that I was dealing with on the daily. And now here I am saying, I'm going to start an investment company. So there's two completely competing things. I still had a lot of time I had to spend here to deal with this, because I'm going to court pro se. And I'm going to get this investment side.
And
no
you're going to
money,
convince
no
people
credit,
to invest with you when you have all that stuff going.
Exactly.
You should invest with me. I'm $14 million in debt. I got these courses. I'm your guy. Trust me.
Yeah.
How do, Billy?
And I got to tell you, how did I do it? It's because I was 100% transparent and honest. I didn't hide from it. The one thing I knew in life is that if you fucking lie, if you come out and you tell bullshit stories, the truth is going to fucking hit you in the ass. So if you just go out and tell the investors the truth, put your cards on the table and don't bullshit to them and say, look, here's what I did. Here's everything I won at. Here's what happened. Here's where I'm at today, but here's my plan for going forward. If you believe in me, whatever you want me to do. And I gave up a lot. I was paying out 75, 80% of the profits in the beginning, but I don't care because I got going. I got going again. And then, I have this one dude, Lenny, he's been with me since I started 11 years ago. He was like one of my first lenders, and he's still with me today.
That's great.
The guy, I love the guy. He loves me. We have a great working relationship, and I never renegotiated in 11 years his interest rate, his points, nothing. Why? Because the guy took a bet on me, and he backed me when other people were like, nah, you're too much of a risk.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for that, right? What a great example of just going out there. How many people told you that you were crazy? Let's just ask that. If you had to throw a number at it.
Everyone. I had people, from close friends to family, like, look, why don't you just get a job? I go, what? Like my mom, I love her. She's the best ever. But she's like, honey, daddy can get you a job at the town. Oh. I go, Ma, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's not, no disrespect. Yeah. It's not that it's a bit, but are you kidding me? Look at my personality.
Have you met me?
I would, come
Have
on. I can't sit, like, this just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but everybody thought I was nuts. Everybody thought I should just take a breather and relax. And listen, this is relaxing. Doing deals and building business and connecting with people and doing podcasts and making shit happen and adding value to people's lives. This is what life's about. Life is not about sitting behind a desk and doing nothing or, working for whoever. Life's about making shit happen.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to somebody who calls you up today and says, Billy, I have 5 million things going wrong for me. I have no education. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just leaving this relationship. I'm headed out on my own. I have no experience, but I know that I can do this, and I just don't know how, but I'm afraid to try. Like, what would be your advice to somebody who wants to take that step, who wants to follow their path and build their business, but has no clue how, has no resources? There's a lot of objections, a lot of things that we'll hear and that we've been through. Look, it's easy for him to start a business. His parents gave him the money to start, to buy that first house. It's easy for you to do this when you have those resources. What about the person who doesn't have resources, who has kids to take care of, who has a mortgage to pay, doesn't, what would be some advice that you would give to them?
So I could speak to that because I was $14 million in debt and I literally had no money, no job, no income, no credit, and a few $1,000s left in the bank account. It was that bad. And it's funny you asked me about the how and the what, because that's exactly what happened to me July 4th, 2009. I knew what I wanted to do. The what was real estate investing. I did not know the how. If you have a big enough what and a big enough why, and I know the why thing is overutilized, like you have to have a big why and it's your family, it's this. You just have to have a driving why. But really the why wasn't it, it was the what. When I figured out the what and it lit me up and I literally felt the hair on the back of my neck stand right up. When I knew the what, I said, I'll fucking figure out the how. I'll figure it out, but you have to know what you want to do. A lot of times, Barb, people want to get into something and they really don't truly know what the what is. And so they end up going in a million different directions. When I got started in this business, I did one thing, real estate wholesale. I focused on one narrow avenue and I put all my energies into that one thing and I figured out how to do it. And I spent all my hours studying and then implementing and then learning. I'm like, all right, this did not work. This did work. And then studying and then implementing. So to anybody out there who's listening, who thinks I got started because my mom and dad gave me money, it was a few $1,000s on one house. I restarted my life, 14 million fucking dollars in the hole, where my mind was completely mush, where I had nothing going on. All I had was time, but I knew the what. Figure out your what, really a what, and don't get the red shiny object syndrome where you're bouncing all over the different ideas. Have a clear path and then drive. If you have that path, drive yourself to figure out what you need to do it. And my motto in the business, every day we have a 10-minute huddle with our sales guys, and we end it with me asking or somebody asks a question, what are you going to do? And everybody in unison screams, whatever it takes. And literally in your life, you need to do whatever it takes to make shit happen. You can't allow I don't know how, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that. No, myself and Dave spoke earlier. You have to become resourceful and you need to fucking figure things out and you need to act. You need to implement. You need to make shit happen. And to my point earlier about Kelly, you need to look around. If somebody listen, people, things, stuff happens in our lives, you need to be aware enough to look and to say, you know what? I'm going to go down. I know my what, and this is now coming into my life, and this is part of my what, I'm going to follow it. What you can't do is when every little opportunity pops around, if it doesn't go with your what of what you want to do, go start running down different roads because now you're going to be splintered off and you're getting nothing done. Focus on the what, drive yourself daily and never freaking quit and do whatever it takes.
Awesome. And that is excellent advice also for right now, very timely because we're hopefully on the tail end of the COVID insanity that has everyone locked down. You've adapted your business to it. You're closing your brick and mortar kind of, your foundation in person, and you're moving all to virtual working. Everybody gets to work from home.
Everybody gets to work from home. So this thing, I never in a million years thought that I'd have a virtual company.
Yeah.
I mean, I was dead against it. Like I'm a guy I'm a business person. I want to have an office and a staff. And I got to tell you, COVID, as shitty as it was, and it hurt a lot of people and a lot of people passed, a lot of goods come out of it. Like we're shutting down the offices. We went 90 days virtual and I realized I don't need an office. All my employees, most 99% of them are happier. They're more productive. They have family life work balance. They're home with their kids. They work at night. They work in the morning. They're hanging out in the afternoon, having lunch with the family. Like to me, this is like God sent. And I am looking forward to June 30th when we close up both offices and we go 100% virtual. Now, it's not easy. We had a lot of different workflow issues and things we had to figure out and how we're going to get things done virtually. We don't have an office, but it all comes down to systems, automation, and workflows, and we're getting it figured out.
That's awesome. Billy, thank you so much. One question we have to ask before I cut you loose is, as we started talking about at the beginning, why we started American Snippets in large part is because we believe strongly that the American dream is still alive and well. But what we make sure to clarify is that we understand it doesn't look the same for everybody. It's not the white picket fence, the 2.2 kids, a house and all that, right? Everybody's got their own version of American dream. You got people working for you who are living their version of it. You're running this company that's your version of it at the moment. But what does that concept, what does that term mean to you? What is that idea, that vision, when somebody says to you, what does the American dream mean to you?
It's one word. And it might be overused, but it really is freedom. It's freedom to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want, and have it become whatever at any time. Like, to me, the American dream is just being free. That's it. And whether it's you put a number on it, you have cash flow. For me, it's just being free. Listen, I'm making a ton of money. I'm extremely wealthy. I have a great business going on, but I have the freedom to do what I want when I want it. And that, to me, is the absolute best success I could live at.
Awesome. And if people want to learn more about you, want to connect with you, want to invest with you, want to partner with you, where can they go?
Sure.
Where can they go to do that?
Yep. Thanks. So you can go to billyalvaro.com. That's Billy, ALVARO.com. And you can find me also on social media under the Unstoppable BA. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, I'm on there.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to do the training for our soon to be launched Great American Syndicate. Super excited to have you as one of our founding premier lessons. That
the American dream lives, baby. The American dream lives.
I love it. Billy, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Good having me. I appreciate it.